Hello and welcome to Study with Sudhir. My name is Sudhir Sahasranaman and we are going to continue with our explanation videos on Pygmalion Act 2. I hope you have seen the first 4 parts. Now we get to part 5 video. We are going to do this in 10 explanation videos. Now what is special and different about the part 5 explanation video is that doesn't seem to be part of the original written by George Bernard Shaw, but it is part of your book, the book that I'm following, the green color ISC Modern English Pygmalion, written by edited by Xavier Pinto and P.S. Latika, and published by MSB Publishers. So this is part of that. Both explanation videos number 5 and explanation videos number 10 are like that. So please be mindful of that, because I looked at various texts of the original Pygmalion written by Bernard Shaw, and this wasn't there. Anyway, so let's get started. Eliza, we have seen that Mrs. Pierce has taken Eliza upstairs, and that's where we kind of see this interaction between Eliza and Mrs. Pierce. That's what this particular part of Act 2 is going to be about. Eliza is taken upstairs to the 3rd floor, greatly to her surprise, for she expected to be taken down to the scullery. Now, scullery is a room which is, usually adjacent to the kitchen area, and that's where usually the used utensils, used vessels after cooking or after eating, they are washed. So it's not really a very hospitable or a very nice place to be taken. But Eliza, because of the kind of background that she comes from, she expected to be taken there. So she's taken by surprise when she's actually taken upstairs, which is a more privileged part of the home. There, Mrs. Pierce opens a door and takes her into a spare bedroom. Mrs. Pierce, I will have to put you here. This will be your bedroom. Now, this is very significant because we have already seen the kind of place that Eliza lives in, which is pretty, rundown kind of a room. So here she is getting her own bedroom, the spare bedroom, which is obviously much more of an elevation in her social status. Eliza, oh, I couldn't sleep here, Mrs. So she says, I will not be able to sleep here. It's too good for the likes of me. Means it's just too good. I'm not used to things being so comfortable, so nice, so neat and clean. I should be afraid to touch anything. That I would be so afraid to even touch anything because I'm not used to these kind of luxuries. Again, this is a pointer to the difference in the social status between Eliza and the people in Professor Higgins's household. I ain't a duchess yet. So she says, I am not yet a duchess. So therefore, I'm not used to this kind of surroundings and this kind of a luxurious, comfortable life. You have got to make yourself as clean as the room. So Mrs. Pierce says that you are right now dirty, but you need to make yourself as clean as this room is. Then you won't be afraid of it. Then you wouldn't feel uncomfortable being in this place, and you must call me Mrs. Pierce, not Mrs. Okay, so she makes that distinction because Mrs. is generally used for, is a slang for mistress, which is not really a very respectable kind of a term. So she wants her to be called in a very formal tone, Mrs. Pierce. She throws open the door of the dressing room, now modernized as a bathroom. God, what is this? Is this where you wash clothes? Funny sort of copper, I call it. Now, copper is a large metallic washing tub which is used. So she's rather surprised when she sees that particular place. Mrs. Pierce, it is not a copper. This is where we wash ourselves, Eliza, and where I'm going to wash you. So this is a washroom, that is a bathroom where we clean ourselves, right? So this is not a place to wash clothes, but to wash ourselves. So she makes a distinction because obviously Eliza is unaware of what it is used for. You expect me to get into that and wet myself all over? Not me. I should catch my death. So she's protest. So this is an expression of protest that there is no way I'm going to get into that tub and get myself completely wet. I would much rather die. I should catch my death. That, I would rather, if I did that, I would actually die. And I knew a woman, in order to kind of give proof of what she's saying, she says, I knew a woman who did it every Saturday night, right? who washed herself every Saturday night and she died as a result. So she's paranoid. She's scared about it. Mrs. Pierce says Mr. Higgins has the gentleman's bathroom downstairs and he has a bath every morning in cold water. So Mrs. Pierce is trying to convey that what she's talking is absolute rubbish. Oh, he's made of iron, that man. So she says that that man is made of iron. He's not a real human being. He's very stiff. Nothing will happen to him if he washes because he's like iron. If you are to sit with him and the colonel and be taught, you will have to do the same. So Mrs. Pierce really laying down the ground rules in a very strict tone, saying that if you are going to sit with him and if you are going to kind of learn all the things from him, you will have to do exactly the same as Professor Higgins does. They won't like the smell of you if you don't, because you would be, giving out a bad odor, and therefore they won't like it. But you can have the water as hot as you like. There are two taps, hot and cold. So there is a mixer. So you can mix it hot and cold or whichever temperature you would like your water to be. Lisa now begins to weep. I couldn't, I dare not, I could not, I dare not. It is not natural. So she feels taking bath like this is an unnatural thing to do. It would kill me. I've never had a bath in my life, which may be obviously a bit of an exaggeration. I mean, she says, and then she qualifies herself saying, not what you would call a proper one. So she says, I have never taken a proper full bath in my life ever. Mrs. Pierce, well, don't you want to be clean and sweet and decent like a lady? You know, you can't be a nice girl inside if you are a dirty slut outside. Now, slut obviously in modern English is used in a very, very negative kind of a sense. But here it is being used more to convey a filthy woman because they are talking more in the sense of cleanliness, of personal hygiene. So she's saying that don't you want to be like a lady instead of a slut? Boo-hoo. So she's kind of bawling away, loudly crying. Now stop crying and go back into your room and take off all your clothes. Then wrap yourself in this. And she takes out a gown from a peg where it is being hung and she hands it over to her and come back to me. I'll get the bath ready. So Mrs. Pierce is being very stern. Her tone is being very stern. Lisa is all tears. She says, I can't, I won't, I'm not used to it. I never took off all my clothes before. It's not right. It's not decent. So she has a rather conservative way of looking at it. She does not want to take bath because she doesn't want to take off all her clothes. And therefore she feels that she's being subjected to this and she's certainly not happy about it. Mrs. Pierce, nonsense, child. Don't you take off all your clothes every night when you go to bed? So Mrs. Pierce is trying to reason with her. Lisa, amazed. No, why should I? I should catch my death. I would die if I did something like that. Of course, I take off my skirt. Do you mean that you sleep in the underclothes you wear in the daytime? So you see, there is a huge difference in the manner in which the upper class, which is represented by Mrs. Pierce, and the lower class represented by Lisa, even take care of small things like about how they go to bed, about how they would take bath or not take bath. Lisa, what else do I have to sleep in? Mrs. Pierce says, you will never do that again as long as you live here. I'll get you a proper night dress for you to sleep in. Do you mean change into cold things and lie awake shivering half the night? You want to kill me, you do. So she says that if I were to wear that night dress, I would only be lying awake shivering, right? Because it would be cold. And that means, you almost want to kill me. I want to change you from a frowsy. Frowsy means an unkempt, untidy, untidy or unkempt slut to a clean, respectable girl fit to sit with the gentlemen in the study. The two gentlemen, Colonel Pickering and Professor Higgins. Are you going to trust me and do what I tell you, or be thrown out and sent back to your flower basket? Because please remember, it was Eliza who sought out the help of Professor Higgins. So Mrs. Pierce is laying down the conditions that if you want to sit there in the study and be there with the gentlemen, you need to do exactly what I'm telling you to do. But you don't know what the cold is to me. You don't know how I dread it. Dread means I completely detest it. Mrs. Pierce says, your bed won't be cold here. It would be pretty warm and cozy. I'll put a hot water bottle in it, in the bed, underneath the bed, so that the bed seems warm. Pushing her into the bedroom. Off with you and undress right now. Lisa says, oh, if only I had known what a dreadful thing it is to be clean, I would have never come. So, this is now proving to be her big challenge, that she needs to be clean, and therefore she's almost now regretting having come there. I didn't know when I was well off, that, I was much better off. And she says that life was much better, and I don't even remember that. Mrs. Pierce pushes her through the door but leaves it partly open, lest her prisoner should take to flight. Lest her prisoner to take to flight means she's referring to her prisoner because she's now kind of captive. Should take to flight means should escape, should escape. Mrs. Pierce put on a pair of white rubber sleeves and fills the bath, mixing hot and cold, and testing the result with the bath thermometer. So this is the process where she checks in the right kind of temperature so that it is comfortable for Lisa to take bath. She perfumes it with a handful of bath salts and adds a palmful of mustard. Bath salts are essentially substances which are added to the bath water to make, it to be smelling very nice and pleasant, so that it also makes the skin soft and clean and very tidy. So that's essentially a very luxurious item that is used by the upper class. Also adds mustard, right? Mustard seed powder. She then takes a formidable looking long handled scrubbing brush. Formidable means something which is, very long and it looks very intimidating. Handle scrubbing brush. Scrubbing is to clean, and soaps it profusely. Profusely means, with a lot of vigor, with a ball of scented soap. Eliza comes back with nothing on but the bath gown huddled tightly around her. A piteous spectacle of abject terror. Abject means, she's, abject poverty bolte hain, it's like hopeless, abject poverty, extreme poverty, which does not give you any hope, or abject pity. Here it is being used with terror. A piteous spectacle means she looks very pathetic because she's looking very scared, and she's very, very resentful that she's having to do something like this. Now come along, take that thing off. Oh, I couldn't, Mrs. Pierce. I really couldn't. I never done such a thing. Nonsense. Here, step in and tell me whether it is hot enough for you. That is, whether the water is hot enough for you. Oh, it is too hot. Deftly snatching the gown away and throwing Eliza down on her back. It won't hurt you. So Mrs. Pierce feels, no, it's not very hot. It won't hurt you. And she sets to work on her body with the scrubbing brush. Eliza's screams are heart-rending. Heart-rending means heart-wrenching, and she's really kind of, screaming her lungs out. Deftly here means, swiftly and with a sense of expertise. There is a sense of expertise as she quickly snatches the gown away and throws Eliza on her back. So with this, we come to the end of part 5 explanation video, short explanation video. As I said, this part doesn't seem to be part of the original written by George Bernard Shaw, the different text PDFs that I saw, but it is part of your textbook, which is why we are doing here. In any case, it kind of flows pretty smoothly as part of the text. We will now again go back to the study where we will meet Colonel Pickering and Professor Higgins in explanation video number 6. So see you then. Tata, bye bye.